Hello, and welcome back to Bombchu. I'm Austin, and today, I'm all alone in the darkness. No Chris or Tyler to ease my pain. Whoa, got lost there for a second. Don't worry, Chris and Tyler are okay, but Chris is tackling some real-life stuff that just can't wait, and Tyler has been busy working on our new Xbox Game Pass overview for each month. Go check out the one for August if you haven't already. He did a great job with it. But back to bundle business. Today, I'll be going over the Humble Choice bundle for September 2021. We've got 13 games to cover today, so let's get to it. This month's Humble Original is Sluggish Morss Pattern Circus, which is, as far as I can tell, the fourth game in the Sluggish Morss universe from developer Jack King Spooner. This is an acid trip of a game. The world and characters are a mishmash of stylized claymation, with dialogue making very little sense and your actions having very little context. You play as Touche, and after observing some worms, everything gets wibbly-wobbly, and you start to view a different time in which Touche is late on rent and hasn't fed his pet in a couple of days, thus starting what I think is an adventure. This game was funded on Kickstarter back in 2018, and going off of the backer updates, it seems the game never really matched up to what the developer envisioned. And after some struggles during the pandemic, he was ready to move on to other projects. I can definitely understand that sentiment, but it also definitely shows in what we got here. First, capturing footage of this game was a pain in the butt. It wasn't compatible with any of my usual capture methods. Second, there are some odd technical issues, although the game is so odd that I can't tell if they might actually be part of the design. When you talk to someone, the camera slowly zooms in, so slowly that you can usually finish talking to a couple of people by the time it finishes, and then it suddenly zooms back out. Room transitions also cause a pretty jagged and noticeable freeze. The game is also super weird, and doesn't seem to want to invite you into its world. If you're looking for something fun and straightforward, look elsewhere. You can pretty much tell exactly from looking at the footage on screen if the game is going to be your jam or not. Personally, I bounced off of it pretty hard, but hopefully the small cult following of this series will find this latest entry up to their standards. Framed Collection is a package deal of Framed and Framed 2, which are puzzle games involving swapping comic book panels to help your protagonist evade the police. Why? My guess would be because they've been framed! In each scene, your character will progress through the panels on their own until they reach their doom, at which point you can start rearranging panels so that they'll have a better path to bypass any danger. It's super simple in terms of mechanics, but the puzzles are fun to solve and start adding some twists. Literally, like being able to twist panels around to different orientations. That's pretty much it. The less I get into specifics about different puzzles, the better. All around, to finish both games will only take around 3 hours, so it's clear they won't overstay their welcome. I'm excited to finish these on a chill Sunday morning someday. Orwell, Ignorance is Strength is the second season of Orwell, which places you in a government surveillance program. Incidents will occur, and it's up to you to find reliable information about all the people involved to decide who exactly did what and why. You've got the internet at your fingertips, and pertinent information will be highlighted as you browse relevant websites. Information can be dragged onto profiles to fill in data, but you'll have to be a bit selective, as some sources are unreliable. You'll also find conflicting information sometimes, and you'll have to make your best judgment about what's true and what's not, or spin your own narrative if you just really like or dislike someone. It's dark, it's dystopian, and it's too damn real. It's great. I still haven't had time to go back and finish the first game, but I liked what I played there, and if you liked the first game, I think you'll enjoy this one as well. Fort Triumph is a strategy game self-described as combining the turn-based combat of XCOM with the world exploration of Heroes of Might and Magic. This feels about right. Combat has you and the enemy exchanging turns, moving all your units around and taking actions. You'll want to utilize cover, and will have to make decisions like attempting ranged attacks that aren't guaranteed to hit, or skipping your action to go into Overwatch mode. One thing I found unique here is that there's a strong focus from early on of using cover to hurt your enemies. Small cover, like rocks, can be kicked to hurt enemies and knock stuff around. Taller cover, like pillars and trees, can be knocked over onto enemies hiding behind them, for some heavy damage and a stun. This is a fun way to punish enemies for hiding too much, though I suspect it will start getting used against you as well before long. By default, permadeath mode is enabled, so I left that on while playing, but it is an option that you can turn off. And if your brain is as smooth as a baby's bottom like mine is, I suggest you do just that, because I lost one of my heroes in the first major battle. RIP. Outside of battle, you can explore for treasure, upgrade your town for extra benefits like an increased party size, and level up your characters, with each having their own skill tree for some customization options. But be careful spending too much time exploring. Every turn you take, the enemies of the world get stronger, so you'll want to move efficiently and with purpose. XCOM and Heroes of Might and Magic aren't really my bag, given I'm basically a high-functioning moron, but the mechanics mix well, even if it's not something that I want to keep playing. If you like either of these franchises, and especially if you like both, give this game a try. Swag and Sorcery is a streamlined RPG from the makers of Punch Club. So, I'm going to be real clear here, this is almost an idle game. And if you hear the phrase idle game and go, what the heck is that? It's a game where you have some light interactive elements, mostly menus, and the bulk of the action is automated, so you can just leave the game idling and keep getting resources to spend and get more powerful whenever you please. These can be great for turning your brain off for a while, or running on the side and paying a little attention to them between matches of your favorite competitive game. Now, I said this is almost an idle game. What did I mean by that? Swag and Sorcery's main action, fighting and gathering resources, is performed by your characters without any input from you. You hire them, gear them, train them, and tell them where you want them to quest, and the rest is out of your hands. So the main action has you sitting idly by. Sounds like an idle game, right? Well, these idle sections are long enough to be boring, but don't last long enough for you to be able to go do other things. Not to mention, you can never really leave your heroes unattended, as you're punished for failing missions, and due to some crazy RNG, you can really fail any quest run if you're unlucky enough. You'll have to micromanage crafting, realize your characters aren't high enough level to wear the new gear you made, go to train them to level up and realize you don't have enough gold, then go to craft crap to sell for money, only to realize you don't have any more crafting materials, and suddenly when you need all those crafting materials, all you find on quest runs are enemies too tough for you to fight. Once you finally get geared up and are tasked with taking out some number of a certain type of enemy, oh sweet, I can only find crafting materials now. It is so grindy, and I can appreciate a game with a good grind to it, but it has to feel like you're getting more powerful at a good pace, and this is a bad grind. If you can get into the swing of things and manage to make yourself powerful enough to consistently survive most of your quest runs, you will eventually start to build up a boss meter. Build it up all the way, and you can play another regular level with RNG encounters to wear you down before the boss. Hooray! I played for a lot longer than I should have to make it to the first boss. He killed me, knocking his meter down, meaning I needed to go do more quest runs for another attempt at him, and I was just straight up not having a good time. Oh yeah, where does the swag come in? When you reach a certain point, you'll unlock the fashion shop, which also unlocks fashion competitions. If you can somehow afford the one item in the fashion shop while trying to deal with getting equipped for the forest, you might stand a chance in the fashion competitions. As it stood, even when I bribed the judges, I still lost, which left me out a ton of money. If you can end up winning, you'll get some rewards and reputation for the town, which I guess opens up some fashion competitions and fashion items. This is, I suppose, the swag and Sorcery, and it feels very tacked on. This is such an odd game. It wants very much to be a mobile idle game, but it's too involved to be enjoyed as an idler, and it's not on mobile somehow. Oh yeah, the sound effects are also really annoying, mostly pretty cute pixel art though. If you enjoy a punishing grind and just have absolutely nothing else to do, well, maybe you can find something to enjoy here. But otherwise, I would steer clear. Heaven's Vault is a narrative sci-fi adventure game with a focus on language. You play as Aaliyah, an archaeologist tasked with finding a man who's gone missing. Most of your time will be spent watching Aaliyah walk from place to place, but these walks avoid tedium by allowing you to converse with your robot pal, Six, if you so choose. The dialogue options have a nice variety to them, and while I haven't seen any that have seemingly changed the story dramatically, I've been enjoying forming my idea of Aaliyah's character through her dialogue choices. You can be sarcastic, dismissive, overly nice, or cut straight to the point. You can also just say, yo, I don't like exploring here anymore, pretty quickly into a new area and just bounce. Or keep exploring and find extra clues. If you look around more, you'll find ancient text that you can try to translate, Initially, you'll have to guess, with some context clues coming from the fact that words that look alike are often related in meaning. As you find more text, Aaliyah will confirm some of the words that you've gotten right or wrong and give you a chance to make a better guess at words and phrases she can't confirm yet. It's a cool approach to having a unique language to learn in a game, and it's one of my favorite parts of Heaven's Vault. Apart from flying this glider down space rivers, oh, do I love gliding. And I especially love space sails. Why? I couldn't even begin to explain, but it fills me with joy. The art style is unique. It features 2D art in a 3D world, which doesn't bother me much. What did bother me a bit was that characters would stutter or have awkward movements sometimes. They would also walk through speech bubbles, which would cause the bubbles to sometimes fly all over the screen. But that's really all I have to say that didn't mesh well with me. I would have an issue with the walk speed if the game didn't auto-walk for me most of the time or give me the option to leave pretty much whenever I felt like it. But I think it works. If you're down for a good narrative adventure, and especially if you find language to be interesting, give Heaven's Vault a go. Atomicrops is a roguelite farming simulator with a heavy focus on combat. That may sound like a mishmash of gaming buzzwords that don't go together, but hold on to your hat. The game opens with a wonderfully animated cutscene as you inherit a farm. Something happens, and well, now you're gonna have to grow whatever crops you can find to help support the town, and you'll have to fight off mutant monsters while you do it, because they're hungry too. The game is broken up into 3-day seasons, with each day split between day and night cycles. At any time, you can till the soil and plant and water your crops. Tilling is done by holding right-click, and watering, well, as long as you have water, just standing near crops will take care of watering them for you. You don't even have to be that close. This means that you can multitask, and you should. Once plants are watered, your bees will come fertilize them. Once they finish, the plants will be ready for water again, and the cycle continues until they're fully grown. During the day, your crops are not in danger, so you can freely explore to look for seeds, power-ups, and other stuff. Once nighttime hits though, you better have harvested all your crops or be there to guard them, because the monsters will be coming out in droves for a taste. Thankfully, you have your trusty pea shooter to fight them off. At the end of each day, you'll be taken to town via helicopter, where you can spend money you earn from your harvest on new seeds, spells, equipment, guns, upgrades, you name it. One thing to note is that purchased guns only work for one day and then break, so you may want to think hard before dropping all your cash on a gun and fully upgrading it. If you've been growing roses, you can spend one to buy health seeds that you can grow to restore some of the health that you've lost, or you can save them up to flirt with strangers. Get your relationship level up high enough and you can get married, with each partner giving you different bonuses. At the end of the season, you'll get to check in with the mayor, who will show you the results of all the crops that you harvested. Depending on how well you fed the town, you'll be given rewards, as well as a chance to buy some more expensive items from a few special shops for that day. Roguelite and farming sim shouldn't go together, but damn it, this is pretty fun. The days and farming cycles move fast enough that you're never left wondering what you should do next, and the combat is fun. The systems all feed well into each other, and having 3-day seasons makes the prospect of death not feel like you're losing a farm that you've worked on for ages. Oh, also, I love the art style. If you like the farming part of Harvest Moon or Stardew Valley, but want some more action, and you're okay with a very streamlined town, this is one to check out for sure. West of Dead is a twin-stick cover-based action roguelike, with a western theme. Starting out, you can hold 2 guns. You can point your character around using the right thumbstick, and either right trigger or left trigger to aim and shoot your gun, depending on which gun is attached to which trigger. Some guns need to be aimed for a few seconds to shoot accurately, others can be shot at will. You have infinite ammo, but it takes some time for shots to reload. Reloading happens faster when you're in cover, and you're also protected there, so you'll want to be in cover often during combat. Cover degrades as it gets shot, eventually breaking completely, so if there are a lot of enemies shooting your way, you can't really stay in one place for long. Thankfully, you have a dodge, which is very handy, but be aware that reloading is paused during dodges, so you'll still want to try and be in cover whenever you can. Enemies drop iron, which you can spend at the trader, and so far in all of my runs, I have not found a trader yet, but I know he exists somewhere. Enemies also occasionally drop sin, which you can spend at the witch between areas to buy permanent upgrades or changes to the game, such as starting off every run with a healing flask. You'll also find shrines, which you can use to level up one of your attributes for the current run that you're on, random guns, and other goodies to give you a little bit of a fighting chance. Combat here is interesting. It runs at a bit of a slow pace due to the cover, aiming, and waiting on reloads, but it's a nice mix of action while giving you a little time to think about what you want to do for your next couple of actions. It's also pretty tough. I could cruise through the first area pretty reliably, but once I made it to the hunt, rooms were filled with enemies, and they really kicked my butt. Even harder than the boss, who was kind of a pushover comparatively. I don't think this is one that I want to spend a lot of time grinding on to try and get strong enough for a full completed run, but if you like action roguelikes with some challenge and a bit more thinking than twitch reflexes, I think this one will be for you. Narita Boy is a retro action platformer taking place inside a computer, Tron style. An entity called Him has invaded the digital kingdom and is deleting the creator's memories. Yeah, I know. But it's flashy, and it serves the 80s style ridiculous neon synth thing the game has going on. You wield a weapon called the freaking Techno Sword for God's sake, which is a rainbow that can also shoot shotgun shells and lasers. Do you like retro action games? Do you like the 80s? Play this game. It's really not complicated. If you're looking for a deep combat system with real tough puzzles, well, this may be a lot simpler than what you're looking for. My only real complaint is that, visually, I had a hard time noticing places where I could climb walls. Climbing spots really just blended into the scenes with all the neon light everywhere. Aside from that, enjoy the music and let your brain tingle from the colorful hand-drawn pixel art animations, and you'll have yourself a good time with Narita Boy. Röki is a Scandinavian narrative adventure game. I went into this game without looking at the store page, and if you're doing the same, I'll just suggest that you skip on to the next section of the review at the timestamp on screen, or using the chapter system on YouTube, as I'll be going into some light spoilers. If you've already looked at the store page, stick around, because I won't be going into anything you haven't seen already. You play as, and I hope I'm saying this right, Tove, a young girl who takes care of her brother Lars. Dad seems to drink himself to sleep, and Mom appears to have died some time ago. You'll be solving some simple point-and-click puzzles while the story gets set up. Pretty standard stuff. Drag items into other items to use them for interactions. Press a button to highlight interactive objects. You know, the usual. The puzzles here aren't very tough to figure out. I don't hate point-and-click adventure games, but I wouldn't consider myself a fan of them. And just as I was about to start losing interest in this one, the story took a sudden turn that took me by surprise. A very large monster attacks your house during the night, and instead of fixing your brother's toy or cooking him eggs, you now need to solve puzzles to escape your own house, which includes making a Molotov cocktail, by the way. Again, if you've already looked at the store page, this moment is in one of the screenshots. You sled away to safety as your house lies in ruins, and it seems you'll be interacting with more monsters throughout your journey. If there's anything a point-and-click game needs to keep me engaged, it's an intriguing story and puzzles that make sense, and this game has both. Do you hate point-and-click games? Is story one of the least important elements of a game to you? You can safely skip this one. But if you like a good story and don't mind using your brain a little, Röki is a wonderful modern adventure game, and I'm excited to see what happens next. Not for Broadcast is an FMV simulation game in which you control the nightly news. You've got a control panel of video feeds, and you get to control what the people at home get to see and hear. Initially, you'll be mainly trying to keep the show engaging by choosing good camera angles to show off who's talking at the right time, but it's implied that there will be other controlling interests that may make you want to hide or show things to the public that some people may not want you to show. You have 4 video feeds to look at, a live feed of what's going to be broadcast, and the actual broadcast which is delayed from the live view by 2 seconds. Beyond choosing appropriate video feeds, you'll also need to listen for swearing so you can be ready to censor bad words for the broadcast, you'll have to deal with signal interference, and you'll need to be ready to run ads at appropriate times. It looks like a lot to take in, but it's got a great tutorial at the start, and it all becomes pretty manageable once you know what you're looking at and what to listen for. After a broadcast is complete, you can go back and look at all the individual video feeds if you want to see what little details were there that you might have missed, which is fun because the team making these videos put lots of little details and jokes in them. You'll be rewarded for engaging broadcasts with a bonus, and between broadcasts, you get to view life outside of the newsroom as you make tough decisions about trying to balance work, family, and being loyal to your friends or your government. It's stressful, in a really good way. It gives you a personal stake in what's being discussed on the news each night, so it becomes a lot harder to stay objective and not have your own opinion in a role where bias is a really bad thing. It's very clever, very polished, and very unique. I think everyone who picks up this bundle should try this game out simply for how unique and well made it is, even if it's not the kind of game that you usually play. Neon Abyss is a run-and-gun side-scrolling roguelite platformer. On its surface, it seems like a pretty standard roguelite. You have random level layouts, random drops and power-ups, lots of different weapons to find, as well as masks and other items that will add modifiers to you. You have grenades to break stone walls, keys to unlock things, and risk-reward mechanics like optional chests and doors that hurt you. Your goal is to make it through 5 levels and bosses, and starting off on the normal difficulty, this was not trivial, but I was able to make it through without dying. This revealed that completing a run is not the ultimate goal of the game, as completing a run unlocks more levels and your next target boss. You'll also get to spend a special currency you earn from each boss that you defeat, unlocking new items and, more interestingly, new room types for future runs. I didn't get to try these out yet, but a couple of room types I unlocked were a crane game room, as well as a piano minigame room, both of which I'm excited to see. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. You also collect eggs while you're running through, which hatch as you fight more and more enemies. These will give you random pets that all have different perks, and you can stack quite a few of them. I had a giant trail of pets and unhatched eggs at one point in my run. This one is fun. I like that it's approachable enough that you can finish a run on your first try, rather than expecting you to fail over and over again until you unlock enough new stuff and get a good RNG run. And rewarding you with interesting minigame rooms to unlock is a lot more compelling to do further runs than simple item unlocks that you may or may not find on your next run. It's got good bite-sized rooms, does a great job of marking your map with items that you left behind like hearts so you can go back and heal when you need to later, and there are plenty of teleporters scattered throughout each level to really keep you from having to do much backtracking. It's super respectful of your time, and as someone who's getting busier and busier with life as the days go on, I really appreciate that. Pga Tour 2K21 is, well, it's a golf game. I'm an absolute moron when it comes to golf. My dad used to have it on the TV all the time when I was growing up, and now whenever I hear golf announcers, I instantly feel like taking a nap. Please note, I know the footage here is running at a weird frame rate, the game runs totally fine, but my capture software just didn't like it no matter what I tried. Pga Tour 2K21 opens with a tutorial, and your teacher, well, he's definitely got a golf voice. The tutorial is actually pretty solid, doesn't take too long, and I came out of it feeling like I had a strong grasp over the controls and the interface. Shots feel like you have good control over them, and you get instant feedback on how straight you were, as well as if you were too slow or fast on your swing. That's not to say I had any real knowledge of when to use what club or what shot in different situations, but I knew enough to get par or pretty close to it when I started playing a full course. The people I was competing with were getting well under par, so I mean, I still suck comparatively, but I was pretty satisfied with my performance compared to how I usually do in simulation golf games. I think I'll always be more of a fan of mini-golf. Only one club to choose from, silly course designs, and if you're playing something like golf with friends, no waiting on each other to complete your swings. When it comes to simulation golf, I'm a little out of my element here. What I can tell you is that this is a rebranding of the golf club, and it's the best rated title in the series so far. So if you're a golf fan or a newcomer interested in learning, this is a solid game to check out. So overall, how was this bundle? This month really didn't have anything in terms of a headliner game. You might argue that Pga Tour 2K21 is the headliner game, but I'll be honest, I had no idea this game existed until it showed up in this bundle. That being said, while there weren't any big-name heavy hitters, almost everything here is something solid if you like a large variety of genres. Except for Swag and Sorcery, that one definitely felt like it was just here to fill a slot. This is the 3rd time Framed has been in a bundle from Humble, and the 7th time if you include Fanatical bundles. It's a great game, but it doesn't feel good for games to show up in Choice that have been bundled so many times already. Overall, I still feel like Choice is a good value most months, but I would really love to see what a month could look like if Humble didn't obligate themselves to provide 12 games, and instead just went for a handful of very curated titles. Oh, and while I bounced off of the Humble original this month, I still want it to get talked about in your marketing materials, Humble. Things have actually regressed from past months. Humble didn't even provide a hidden link to the developer's webpage this month. I just seriously can't figure out why Humble is spending money on these originals to basically sweep them under the rug each month. If you're interested in the total value, here's a cost breakdown of each of the games. Finally, I want to give a big thank you to Blake Harms, Michael Slater, and to all of our patrons over on Patreon. We really appreciate your support each month. And to everyone who made it this far, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.